Welcome back to another episode of Monochromatic Games. Today we have a zombie special. I'm sitting here next to a zombie expert.
I'm gonna tell you the origin, where did they come from and how did they become the zombies we all know and love today.
At first I didn't like zombie movies and stuff. But then you at work were blabbling about zombies. I saw a few movies and now I'm watching The Walking Dead and I'm loving it. I'm loving it. Tell us why.
Okay, well first off, zombies, it all started on Haiti. It's an island everybody knows, and there people used to practice voodoo, and there's where the word zombie comes from, and it was used to describe people that were resurrected from the dead as slaves. Somebody resurrected someone and they were used as slaves to work. So they were not the flesh-eating, brain-loving, fun-loving guys we know today. The first movie was a movie called White Zombie. And it's from 1932, directed by Victor Halperin, starring Bela Lugosi. And
we know that guy.
Yeah, we know that guy. He's my favorite actor.
Yeah.
And it's his name is actually, he's called Murder in the movie. And it's a story about a guy who resurrects people as slaves. It's not the way we know zombies today, but it's the first movie where the term zombie was used. It only took 11 days to make. They shot it in 11 days, which is a feat in itself. Yeah. And Bela Lugosi, sorry. I'm sorry, man. Jeez, get off my back. Lugosi.
Lugosi.
Okay. Well, he was paid $800 to star in this movie, and which by today's standards is very little. You can rent the car to get to the shoot now for $800 almost. I think many of you know Rob Zombie. He makes movies and music, and his first band was called White Zombie after this movie. It's one of his favorite movies as well. And this film was thought to be a lost film until the 1960s, where somebody found it again, and then there was a big lawsuit between the maker and who had the footage. I'm really glad they found it again, and it's still able to watch it, and it's public domain as well, so it's on YouTube. You can, takes about an hour to watch it if you're interested in where it all started. Next up is the first movie with flesh-eating zombies. This guy who directed it, George A. Romero, he made zombies. He invented zombies.
Okay.
They were making the film and they were thinking, what's the most horrible thing a person can do to another person? And they thought, it's cannibalism. Yeah. So that's where zombies eating other people comes from. And this movie is called Night of the Living Dead. And it's my favorite movie of all time. It's in black and white. It's from 1968.
This movie was starring a black guy, right?
Yeah, it's Dwayne Jones. Around the time there was still a lot of racial tension in America.
Exactly, yeah.
And he was very scared when the movie came out because he hits a white woman in the face. In the movie, and he was very scared that people would go out and riot and would try to lynch him. I think he's one of the best choices the directors made to cast him for the part, because he's not really an actor, he was an academic. He was a really smart guy and he plays the role really well. There's a guy, Tom Savini, I think he's the man. If you want special effects, special makeup effects done, you have to go talk to Tom Savini, and he was supposed to do the special makeup effects for this movie, but then he was called to go to Vietnam because the war was going on then, and he had to go as a combat photographer to Vietnam, so he couldn't do the makeup effects. But in 1990 he actually did a remake of this movie, Night of the Living Dead, 1990 it's called, and it's really good as well. It's in color and it's really true to the original movie. Funny thing is, they never actually call them zombies in the movie. They call them, as close as it gets, is those things, and some of the characters call them ghouls in the film.
That's funny, because now they're also doing this in The Walking Dead.
Yeah.
They never call them zombies.
No.
Walkers, biters.
Later in the sequel, they started calling them zombies,
Okay.
but not as frequent as in many movies. This movie it cost only $114,000 to make, and the remake in 1990 cost over $4 million to make. It's pretty funny to see the difference. William Hinzman, who played the first zombie you see in Night of the Living Dead, he had to make a walk. He had to act a walk, and you know how all the zombies walk, like, everybody knows how zombies walk, but when they were making that movie, nobody knew how a zombie should walk, because it was the first one. And so he based his walk on a Boris Karloff movie, and I think you'll know him. We talked about him in the last video. And the movie is called The Walking Dead, and he plays a guy who gets resurrected from the dead. And in that scene is one of the most quoted lines out of the movie. It's a character named Barbara gets attacked. Before that, her brother mocking her, and he starts, "They're coming to get you, Barbara." And that quote is used in so many samples, and it's just
nice.
A really good quote.
Later, zombies will chase you down
running,
and fucking hard.
Yeah.
You like him running or just like?
That depends. That depends, because in some movies like 28 Days Later and 28 Weeks Later,
they're running.
It's a different zombie. They're not resurrected corpses. They're people infected with a rage virus.
Rage virus, and that
it makes sense that they run. But if they're resurrected from a grave and they're just shambly skeletons, it doesn't make sense if they're running. They're just mindless.
You're right.
But in the right context. It's okay. A Night of the Living Dead is considered one of the most successful independent films of all time, because it was an independent film. He actually got offered a lot of money from a big studio. They wanted to bring out the movie, but he had to change the ending. They wanted him to put a love story into the movie.
With a happy ending.
With a happy ending, and it's just force it in there. And he denied. And he said, "No, I'll do this on my own." Next up, we've got the direct sequel to this one. It's called Dawn of the Dead. It's from 1978. It's the most famous of the three and the best-selling one of the three as well. The zombie outbreak happens and they hide in a mall. And everybody, I think, knows the zombie story. Everything gets fucked up and they hide in a mall. But that's the first movie to do so. And it's the first movie where they're called zombies as well. Tom Savini did the special makeup effects for this movie. And also, they didn't have the money to hire stuntmen. So Tom Savini volunteered to do most of the stunts himself.
Nice.
And one of the stunts, he has to fall off a building, and they had like carton boxes and stuff where he could fall, so he was safe. But he landed just with one leg on the carton boxes, and the rest landed on the concrete.
Ouch!
So he had to work from a wheelchair. The
rest of the production.
Yeah, not the rest, just a few days, and then he was jump out of it again.
Like, fuck this wheelchair. Let me work.
Tom Savini was in charge of what the zombies would look like, and he gave them grey skin. He wanted them to be grey because the first movie was in black and white, and the zombies were grey then as well, and he wanted that to go over in the next movie. But when they filmed it, it turned out blue on camera, and now when you watch it now, all the zombies in the movie have like blue faces. There's a part where a motorcycle gang raids the mall where the characters are hiding, and one of the motorcycle raiders is also played by Tom Savini. And George A. Romero also has a few parts in the movies where he plays a zombie. But you can't really recognize him only if you know, because one at the end of the movie you see a zombie waist down walking with a trolley, just but that's George A. Romero, the maker of the movies, and you can recognize him because he has like a sash. In 2004, I think there was a remake of this movie, Dawn of the Dead. And it's by Zack Snyder, who made Watchmen, 300, Sucker Punch. Yeah. There, the zombies run. They're like really fast, really aggressive zombies.
So only athletes will survive in that.
Yes, but it's an okay movie. It's okay.
It's okay. But
Yeah, it's what you expect from a modern zombie movie. I prefer the old, up to the 80s zombie movies where they were much slower and much more time to build up atmosphere and less time just action. Most of the special effects and special makeup effects in the movie were improvised because they didn't have a book where they could read like, this is how you make exploding heads or this is how you make this or that. They just improvised on the spot all the effects, and it's really amazing. At one point you see a zombie bite someone in the neck and rip out his throat, and it just looks real. It looks real, and for 1978 it's a real good accomplishment. I think everybody knows the Gorillaz, right? They sampled a lot of things from this movie for a lot of songs, and you can, if you watch the movie, you're hearing things that, hey, wait, I know that, I already know that it's from a Gorillaz song probably.
These little things I would never find out. Never.
You have to know.
You have to know, and it's very interesting. Thank you for this.
Last one, it's the end of the original zombie trilogy, Day of the Dead from 1985. It's the least well known of the three, and it didn't sell that well, and people didn't like it really much, but it's a really good movie as well, I think. It also had a remake in 2008, and it's a really shitty remake, the only remake that's not any good. And also Tom Savini again did in the original did the makeup effect. You have this zombie. They capture a zombie. They're hiding in an old mine shaft, underground military facility stuff, and it's not a studio. They were actually in a mine shaft for the whole time they were shooting this movie, and it got some actors couldn't deal with that much because they were living underground the whole time. They didn't see the sun and stuff, and they went a bit crazy. It was really hard shooting that movie.
And then they got the rage virus. And then it was a totally different movie.
The story is they capture a zombie and they try to see if he still has some humanity in him, if they can try to teach him things and stuff. And the zombie they capture is played by Sherman Howard, and the zombie, they call the zombie Bub, but it's a really, really well acted zombie. He is a zombie and he wants to eat them, but at the same time when they give him a book, it's actually a Stephen King book they give him that wasn't out in the time the movie takes place, so that's really weird, but it was one of the favorite books of George A. Romero.
They did the same kind of thing in The Walking Dead. Also they had a walker zombie, and they also studied. Lots of movies did it. Also 28 Days Later.
It's
funny that they taking the old zombie movies back to the present zombie.
But it never really changed. It just the pace got faster because people wanted a faster paced movie. Again, they didn't have a lot of budget, although the Dawn of the Dead sold really well, but they made some shitty deals and they didn't get all the money they could have. So the zombies are all it was shot in Pittsburgh, and the zombies you see in the movie are all played by just people who lived in Pittsburgh and who could sign up for. I think they got a free hat that says I played a zombie in Day of the Dead, and they get like lunch and stuff like that.
You would also do it.
Yeah, definitely. Even if I didn't get ahead. All the gore and guts you see in Day of the Dead are all real pig guts. We got some actors really sick on set. Butcher was happy to help and just thought it was.
And then
really
they
cool
got
idea.
also a virus, and then it became again another movie.
Precisely, but it's the same as the first Texas Chainsaw movie. They used
also
real rotten flesh and guts as well, and people really didn't like that. The actors. No.
Weird people.
The soundtracks for those three movies were all really good. The first one is in the 60s, so it's still classical. I hope you'll be inspired to watch some of these movies when it's Halloween, which is coming up, of course. And
I feel really educated now. I can get now my zombie diploma now.
yeah, zombie diploma. Yeah.
Yeah,
I wish that was a thing, man. that would be a school I would finish.
Thank you for this again. If you liked it, follow us for more videos.
Yeah.
Subscribe, follow us on Facebook, Monochromatic Games. We have a Twitter, Monochromatic G.
See you in the next video and have a very spooky Halloween.
Boom!